Hi, everybody. It's Paula Ketteler here. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with over 20 years of experience helping people take care of their mental health no matter what's going on in the society. And I am popping in here today because today is election day here in the United States. And what I have noticed with my clients and in my practice, I have 9 other therapists in my group practice, is that there's a lot of anxiety around these elections. And actually, the American Psychological Association did a survey recently, and the survey said that almost 70% of Americans are experiencing what's called election anxiety. So, if you are feeling a little worried, you're feeling jittery, maybe you can't sleep super well, and you're just kind of feeling this heightened level of stress, the chances are that you too might be experiencing some election anxiety. And since today it is November 5th, election day, I wanted to pop in here today to talk a little bit about what you can do to manage election anxiety so that your relationships don't get ruined with your friends and family and loved ones, and that you can actually feel grounded and go through this intense period of which could be some unrest. Perhaps we don't know what's going to happen. I also want to point out that, of course, there are fears in terms of what the outcome is going to be and how people are going to respond and react. But there's also a great opportunity whenever there is any kind of crisis happening. That crisis can also turn into an opportunity, something new, something different, something that didn't exist before. So for those of us who are really worried about what might happen, then also think about what the possibility is here. And at the end of the day, life is about change. Anything, the one thing that's constant in life is change. Okay. So let me get into this election anxiety a little bit more in detail. Now, this political tension and divisiveness that have been going on for months and months and months and now has a substantial impact on people's mental health. Like I said, we've been seeing it in my practice for a long time now, where people who already might be having some depression and anxiety and perhaps dealing with some trauma, and maybe there's some relationship issues and conflict already. So then when we add on to such a strong division in the society for that, it's going to impact your mental health. So what I've seen people are experiencing is just a sense of hopelessness, pessimism, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, a lot of fear. Really, underneath all that is really a deep sense of feeling unsafe and fear, feeling hopeless, having trouble sleeping. And sometimes it could be just this feeling of, being kind of edgy, being restless. And one of the biggest things is, of course, the sense of powerlessness, because it kind of feels like, well, it's such a big thing. Like, what do I, as a one person, what kind of impact can I have in this situation? And my one of my main messages for you today is voting. That's definitely one very concrete, practical thing you can do right now to take action. And your voice counts. Whatever your opinion is, it matters. So if you haven't voted yet, go ahead and go vote. So here's a couple of tips on how to manage this anxiety. So first of all, planning ahead, meaning like don't just let yourself drift and don't let yourself be at the mercy of the news and mindlessly consuming what's happening. Just be a little bit more aware and intentional and plan ahead, even for tonight, because I know there could be a lot of intense emotions and reactions, people getting triggered. So plan ahead. Kind of figure out how do you want your evening to look like tonight, as well as the next few days, as votes are being counted and all that. The other important thing to keep in mind is to expect some anxiety. It's totally normal. Like I said, 70% of Americans are actually experiencing election anxiety. So it's very likely that you are one of them too, just like me. So it's not really realistic to think, like, to expect we're not going to have any anxiety. And know that anxiety is just your body's natural, normal alarm system. It's just this alarm bell that goes off that says something is amiss, something is going on. There's something that you need to pay attention to. So, and it's okay. Like, we can also be grateful for having that alarm bell system. Like, imagine if we wouldn't even know when we are in danger. We wouldn't be able to protect ourselves. But the important thing is when you notice that anxiety, that you don't just keep talking about the issue. A lot of people get stuck in, like, they're just talking about what's happening. Also, do some reflection, kind of checking in with yourself, like, okay, how am I actually feeling? What are the feelings that are coming up for me right now? And go ahead and label them. Give them a name, because we know that naming is taming, which means naming an emotion can help tame anxiety, can help actually regulate us when we just give it that name. And if you're not sure, and if you don't know what is the what is this feeling called, just Google a list of emotions or basic emotions or something like that. And that can be really helpful for some people who don't have the vocabulary for emotions. But even if you don't know the name for the emotion, feel it in your body. Just kind of notice, is it in your chest? Is it in your belly? Is it in your head? Like, where do you feel it and how does it feel? This process that I just described helps you actually digest all those intense emotions. So instead of that energy staying in your body and kind of getting stuck in there, because you are paying attention to it, you're breathing into it, you're noticing it in your body, you're giving those feelings space to be, that will help actually help you feel better and helps you feel better faster. So don't just talk about what's happening, also notice what's happening inside you as well. The other helpful thing might be to do some breathing practices. So, one simple, very simple breathing practice that has a lot of research, scientific research that has shown it's very effective in calming our nervous system is called the box breathing. Box breathing goes like this: you would inhale for the count of 4, you would hold your breath for the count of 4, you would exhale for the count of 4. And at the bottom of the exhale, you would hold your breath count of 4. So it creates this box. That's why it's called a box breathing. So it's 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. And then you keep repeating that breath cycle for several times until you notice your body is feeling a little more relaxed. Okay. The other wonderful tool is to really pay attention to the things in your life that you can control. Like I said, having these big societal events happening, it feels like it's kind of out there, yet it impacts us personally. That can make us feel really powerless. But the fact is, though, that you have a lot of things in your life that you have control over, and it's just a matter of what do we pay attention to. I always say that our awareness, our attention is like a flashlight. So if I'm in a dark room, I can point the flashlight over there and I see what's there, or I can point it over there and I see what's there. So if this side is things that I don't have control over and I'm constantly pointing my flashlight there, I might feel a little fearful and anxious and feeling powerless. If I also point the flashlight over here, where all these things that I have control over, and it could be very simple things like you have control over turning the TV off, not checking the social media all the time. You have control over going for a walk. you have control over, I'm going to call a friend and get some support. So sometimes it's just like little things like that, like that can give us that sense of power and control back. Again, it's about what you pay attention to. So you could even do a journaling exercise and list all the things that you have actually control over 100%. This is your sphere of influence. So my recommendation today is to focus on what is in your power, in your control right now. Okay. Another good thing to do is limiting your consumption of the election news. So I know it's important to stay up to date and know what's going on and what the results are and this and that. And at the same time, if that is going on for the next 2 to 3 days and you're constantly consuming that, I can guarantee that it's going to create a stress response in your body. So limit your consumption. The other thing you can do is just kind of pick your sources, so to speak. So make sure that you are going to the source and that you are not just mindlessly absorbing whatever it is. And if you're really getting triggered, if you're easily triggered, getting easily upset, looking at a certain news channel, then don't look at those. Don't watch those. Go to some channels where you feel like they align more with your values. Okay, so just kind of honor how much stress are you putting your body through just just because of the type of news and content you are consuming. And this is not just for elections, but this is kind of in general. So be intentional about which outlets you receive information from, and take breaks, because I know that this, from at least here in the United States, I'm from Finland, so things are a little bit different there. But here in the United States, the news like to just kind of ruminate over things. So one thing happens, and then they talk about that one thing gazillion different ways. And I'm like, there is no other way to talk about it. But it kind of keeps on and on and on. And it's kind of like that negative bias that we already have. And so you can just get present to, okay, this thing happened, and leave it at that. Drop the rest, let the rest go. Don't necessarily need to be engaged in hashing over those things. Okay. Also, be mindful of your social media consumption as well. So you could, if you even want to be kind of radical, take a break. Delete those apps from your phone for a little bit, because there's a lot of hostile interactions going on. There's a lot of misinformation happening there. So if you're just scrolling, and you might have some acquaintances or friends or connections in your Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are, that might be constantly posting some negative stuff. So it's okay to just kind of block those people or unfriend them. You are in charge of your well-being, and you get to set those boundaries. So if something is really triggering for you, don't do it. Just disconnect from social media for a little bit. At least take a break so that you have some guardrails for your social media consumption. And then if you find yourself in a conversation with somebody who has the opposing view to yourself, and perhaps it's even somebody that, it's an important relationship and you don't really want to mess it up. So it's important to just try to stay neutral and try to stay curious and non-judgmental. You know, when we discuss politics, it's not necessarily about convincing. So getting out of this mindset of I have to convince this other person of my point, my view, and all this. So rather than trying to convince, because that's going to lead to a lot more conflict and resistance, just be curious, open-minded, and not non-judgmental. One of the things that I like to say is if I don't know how to respond, I just say, "Oh, that's interesting," and that's kind of like a neutral way to acknowledge what the other person said without really, putting any more fire to the fire. Um, the other thing that is kind of difficult for a lot of people is setting boundaries with friends and family. So it just because you might have an opinionated aunt, or you might have somebody in your family who really likes to share their opinion very vocally, it doesn't mean that you actually have to listen to that. And it's actually really important that you somehow set boundaries and you protect yourself from conversations that, if this is going to continue, there might be a blow up of sorts. And then again, as you can imagine, that can be very damaging to the relationship. So couple of things you can say, just kind of phrases that you can say, something like, I'm hearing what you are saying, but I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now with this topic. Can we talk about something else? So just acknowledging, I hear you. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm getting stressed out here. Can we shift the topic? Let's just drop this and talk about something else. Totally okay to send that message that, okay, I'm not in a space to talk about this right now. Another way to say this is, I appreciate that you want to talk to me about this, but it's making me feel really stressed out. Can we chat about it later? Or, I'm not feeling comfortable with this topic. Please stop. If you want to be a little bit more powerful, you can say, I'm not comfortable talking about this anymore. Can you please stop? If you're with the person that is still not stopping, nothing is in your way of removing yourself from that conversation. And it's okay to say that, like, I'm getting really upset. I'm getting stressed out about this topic, and I'm just going to remove myself and go for a walk, do something soothing and calming for yourself. Okay. And just for tonight, my recommendation is to be with your people, be with your friends and family who share the same values as you. Because if you're kind of anticipating, like, yeah, tonight is might be kind of hard, then it's a good idea to be with people who you trust and be with people who you feel safe with, so that you can feel supported. And that community, that being together with people that we really trust, is so regulating. We have this social engagement system in our nervous system, where really it's when we are together with our tribe, that is when we feel the best. We have the most sense of well-being. So put yourself in a situation where, maybe don't be alone. If you're single or if you don't have anybody, figure it out. Call a friend. Be proactive about that, so that you don't have to be by yourself, and do gravitate towards the people who you feel like are sharing the same values. Now, the anxiety is not going to stop just because the election is over. So, election related anxiety is likely to continue. It's not going to disappear after today or tomorrow. So, how to manage this in the long term then is to make sure that you lean in to your support system, and that you allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling, whether you are celebrating or whether things don't go your way. Then you get to grieve, and then you get to allow some time and space for yourself to grieve, to feel your feelings, to journal about them, let yourself cry, talk to a friend, whatever way it is that you need to process your feelings. But the important thing is that we don't get stuck in those feelings. We don't get stuck in anger, resentment, hatred, because that is only going to hurt yourself. It's not going to do anything else other than create stress in our nervous system. And my biggest advice is to step into empowerment, do something, take action, whatever form it looks like for you. And that helps you step into that sense of agency. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping up with that and hope that this was helpful information for you and that it will make your election night more grounded, more present, more aware. And hey, let's have a celebration that there is, no matter which way the change is going, change is coming, and that you can contribute to that in your own way, because I do believe that if we want to create a change in this world, like whatever kind of world it is that you want to create, you don't have to wait for the next president to create that. You can start with yourself. You can start right now by choosing who you want to be and how you want to show up in this world. So it is my intention to be a source of transformation for a world that is kind, that is compassionate, that is generous, where people are there to support each other and live as a community, that a world where we contribute to each other's health and happiness and joy and well-being. And like I said, no president is needed for that. I can start right now, and so can you. Thanks for listening. Bye.